Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Autism in Black Conference. My name is Aundrea Caldwell-McMullen, and I want to thank you guys for being here for my session. So what I want to talk about today is what happens when your beautiful baby becomes an adult. Okay. It is not like most typical parents, of course, with our children being on the spectrum. There are other challenges that you're going to face, that you're going to have to go through, and that's what I want to talk about today. Before I begin, though, I want to thank the committee with Autism in Black and the executive team for giving me this opportunity to speak before you guys today. This is something that's near and dear to my heart, being an autism advocate. I want to share this information with you of what I've learned based on my experiences. Now, I must admit, this is a challenging topic. It's really for parents who have what people consider high functioning autistic children. Okay. So I want to make sure I give that lens of which I would be sharing this information, that would be from that lens of raising children who are considered high functioning. So the title of my session today is Adulting Autistically, a special framework for autism parents. Okay. This is a framework of about 7 strategies that you should consider when you're preparing for your child to turn 18. I know it can be a little scary. I know I was in your position thinking about what's going to be next, but I've gone over that hurdle, and I feel like the information I share with you today will be impactful. So let's get started. First, a little about me. Again, I am a mother of 3, but we're also part of a blended family. About 6 years ago, I met my husband, Stephen. He has 1 son. I have 3, 1 daughters and a son. And we came together with this blended family. So you can imagine when I share with him that, hey, you're marrying a woman with 3 children on the autism spectrum, he was shocked. But because of his love and his passion for children, he embraced it 100%. So we are a wonderfully blended family. If you look on this over here, that's a picture of me and my wonderful husband. And then on the right side, you see all the pictures of me and my children when I was a stay-at-home mom, when I was a working mom, a student mom, and also a single mom. So I wanted to give you a good glimpse of all the various ages that they've gone through as I've parented them. Now, over to the left, you'll see a book cover. So about 7 years ago, I wrote my first book, and it was all about raising my son, Cameron, who received my first diagnosis. He's my oldest. And I wrote a story about my journey in embracing autism, accepting the diagnosis, and then becoming a big advocate for him. A lot of people felt that he was not going to be able to complete high school, and I changed that whole narrative. I became that super mom, and successfully he was able to graduate and go ahead and attend college. So that book is about my journey, but in totality, I have about 20 years of being on this autism journey. And I want you to know that information I share comes from the experiences, the lived experiences of raising my children. Now, why can I speak on this topic? Now, I am not an educator. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not any of those things. I'm not trained in autism. Okay. I'm not a therapist. I'm none of those things. Okay. But I'm a mom. And I have been able to raise all 3 of my children differently because, as you know, autism shows up differently. And all of the skills, all of the strategies that I've used, all the tips that I've come up with is what I'm going to share with you today. And it comes from real world experiences. So I want to also share that caveat that this is not scientifically vetted or anything like this. These are the things that I did. Okay. And the reason why I can speak on this topic is, like I said, I have lived it and I'm still living it, to be perfectly honest. So a little about my 3 wonderful children. I want to give you the context of where I'm coming from when you see this special framework. Okay. When you see the 7 strategies, I want you to look at it through the lens of, these are my children, and here are the different approaches I had to take for them. So first, let's start with my son, Cameron. Cameron is 26 years old. And when I received his diagnosis, he was 5. Okay. So in 2004 is when I got on this autism journey of how do I navigate preparing him for life. Okay. As you can see, when he was starting out, the school environment was a horrible experience for him. And given that I was new to autism, I leveraged the knowledge of so many professionals. But I must be honest, I was definitely disappointed. I didn't see people that looked like me. Cameron didn't see young Black boys that looked like him. And it was always so negative. Now, it may not be like that now, but when I was starting out, it was always about what they can't do, what their deficiencies are. And it really impacted me for about 5 years. I was not hopeful for a future with my son. He's diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. So some of the challenges that he faces is social, emotional, academic. It takes over him in terms of being so preventive of him to express himself, for him to be engaged, for him to maintain friendships, for him to even consider working. Those are some of the challenges that he's faced with his diagnosis. But I have some good news. Through a lot of the strategies that I'm going to talk about today, he was able to graduate from high school and go on to get his associate degree, which he just completed this past fall. In addition to that, as he was navigating what he wanted to do with his life and what are the things he's excited about, he landed on cybersecurity. So I was able to get him into a boot camp at Georgia Tech. So you'll see that over to the left, his certification. And he's also certified by CompTIA in Security Plus, which is a highly ranked and visible certification that is really sought after. My son was able to do that. Now, it took lots of years, lots of hard work, lots of failure, but I wanted to give you a lens of which here's my son Cameron, here's his diagnosis, here's where we were, and here's where we are now. Next, I want to talk about my daughter, Mari. Mari is 20. And she has moderate to high functioning autism. And some of the challenges that she faces, of course, is social, her identity as a young autistic woman and teenager and young girl. She went through that whole spectrum of trying to find her identity, her random and the things she may say, some of the actions she may take. Constantly being able to manage those impulses has been a big challenge for her. And then constant isolation. My daughter hates to leave the house, hates to leave the house. So those are some of the challenges that I face with raising her around the social piece, her identity, the impulsiveness that she would struggle with, and also the constant isolation. Okay. Now, the pictures that you see here are various pictures of her going outside of her comfort zone and showing her personality. She was able to graduate high school in 2023, and I was pleasantly surprised when she was awarded a national academic recognition from President Biden in 2023 for her reading. What I had learned over time, as over the 4 years she was in high school, she read over 4 million words. Highest in the nation. Had no idea. That is how amazing the autistic mind is. A neurodiverse thinking, an ASD mind, however you want to describe it, how uniquely talented and impactful and wonderful her mind is. Who has ever read 4 million words in 4 years? That's 1 million words a year. That's a lot of reading. Well, she was able to do that, and President Biden recognized her for her accomplishments. Now, Mari's other superpower is animation. As you know, when you are on the spectrum, you can become highly focused on a particular thing. Well, animation, digital animation, was Mari's, what I call her superpower. She loves animation. When she started at 12 years old, we decided to homeschool her because the rigor, the pressures of being in a more traditional educational setting got to be too much. At one time, I was like, "Oh, mama need a break." It was just constant reminders of what she can't do and what her challenges are. So we took a break. And during that time, she focused on digital animation, both 2D and 3D. And as you can see in the pictures in the middle, how talented she truly is. And in the fall, after she graduated, she decided to go to S.P.E.C.I.A.L. They gave her a full scholarship because of her talents, but it was a disaster. She was not ready for adulting. And we had to make the difficult decision to pull her out of school and give her a year to just get herself together, to build her confidence, to know and really just think of her identity that autism does not define you. It's just one of many things to describe who you are. And so taking the time to build her self-esteem, getting her a therapist, preparing her for where she needs to be in life, prepare her for adulting. Adulting was scary for Mari. Okay. But I took the time to give her a break. And now I can say that right now she has resumed her studies. She's at DeVry, majoring in software engineering, and she will be starting Kennesaw State in the fall. A big win for my daughter. And then my third child is Milan. Milan is a graduating senior this year, and she has been diagnosed. She was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia. But recently, after we did psychological evaluations for her, it came back that she's on the spectrum as well. Had no idea. Because the way she demonstrated autism was totally different than my other two children. Milan is social. Milan has the executive skills to not only run a business, drive a car, know how to go get a job. She is different. But how she demonstrated autism and what her challenges were was, of course, reading because of her dyslexia, making friends, her unique way of how she expressed herself. If you look at the pictures down there, she has a different color every week of a wig, okay? The way she dresses herself, she shops at thrift stores. She refused to buy anything name brand or brand new. Everything is hand-me-downs or things that she would pick up at a thrift store. She loves thrifting and she loves expressing herself through her fashions. So these unique expressions, when some people see them, could be a bit much. I mean, she has been having different color hair since she was 10 years old. I gotten so much flack about what I did to allow her to wear different color hair, but that's what made her happy. That's what made her express herself and be vibrant, is being able to express herself in that way. So as you can see, making those adjustments is one of the things I'm going to talk about to help her be able to feel confident in who she is. Because of her ways of expressing, sometimes it can be very depressive because not all kids and adults look at her that way, the way she dresses and do her hair. So it sometimes would transition into emotional meltdowns. Now, not the ones that you would think that are aggressive, but a meltdown where she retreats within herself and it takes a couple of days to come out of it. And so the challenges that I faced with her has been all about how do you manage your emotions? Now, the good news is my baby is super smart. And she will be graduating summa cum laude. She is in the top 6% of her class. And during this college admission season, she has been accepted to over 26 schools, colleges, and universities, and has collected over $650,000 in merit academic scholarships. This child, who's dyslexic, difficult reading, challenges with math, challenges with her social abilities, has put herself in a position to excel academically, and I couldn't be more proud. Okay, so those are my three children. And as you look at it, it's like this, she's done an amazing job. But here's the problem. This is the problem that I was faced with. Okay. In general, if you're a parent of a child on the spectrum and they become an adult, things change. Okay. Here's some of the statistics that I found that talks about the problem and how big it is that parents face when their child turns 18. Now, many high-functioning autistic people, adults, struggle with decision-making, self-advocacy, adapting to new environments. Those are all things my children had to deal with, okay? And as a parent, the level of anxiety, trying to figure out how to move forward, and really, you're on your own. All that support you had when you're in K through 12, it goes away. It shifts, okay? You really are in the driver's seat when it comes to preparing your children for adulthood. And if you don't have the guidance, if you don't have a plan, their future is really uncertain. So that is why this session is so important, because I don't want you to find yourself not prepared. Okay. Here is some additional statistics I want to bring to your attention. About 20% of young adults with autism have lived independently from their parental supervision, away from their parents. Only 20%. 80% of young autistic adults are under the care of someone. They're living with someone. High functioning adults is what I'm referring to. That is just shocking. And it bothered me because I thought, could there be a possibility for my kids to live independently? I didn't have the confidence until I started doing these strategies. Okay. But 20% of young adults live on their own, 80% do not. Employment. About 58% of young adults with autism have held a job outside of their home. Okay. But it's at a lower rate than their peers with other disabilities. Okay. So there's a high probability that if you are an autistic adult, that finding a job and keeping a job is a 50-50 shot. And that was very eye-opening for me because I also lived it. So what do I need to do to prepare my kids so that they are one of the 58%? Second, we want to talk about post-secondary education. 60% of young adults on the autism spectrum do not transition to work or continued education. 60%. Only 40% of young adults continue on in some type of work environment or continuing their education. That's unfortunate. And I know how it can happen because I lived it. The ups and downs, the failures, the I don't know what I want to do. I don't like this class. It's so many pitfalls along the way that people just give up. Okay? That's why that number is so high, that they do not transition. And as the older you get, the less you have the confidence to do it. And then that leads to other things. And then last, I want to talk about transition planning. Now, I know if you have an IEP and your son or daughter is preparing to go graduate from high school or leave the K through 12 environment, they have to do a transition plan. But this statistic shows that only 58% of those students get a transition plan. Even though it's mandated by federal law, only 58% do. So that's the problem we're facing. Those are the things that we are trying to figure out. And I am so excited to walk you through that solution. So my solution that I came up with that I want to share with you today is called S.P.E.C.I.A.L. Now, each of those letters represent a focus area that I want you to be familiar with, a focus area that I use. And I was able to come up with a special name, so I came up with the acronym S.P.E.C.I.A.L. But what it is a practical framework based on real life scenarios that I have gone through with my children. These are parental strategies, okay? So that we can help them successfully and confidently navigate adulthood. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. But these focus areas that I'm going to talk to you about should put you on a path towards success. So let's talk about the S.P.E.C.I.A.L framework. These are 7 practical strategies that I want you to consider that's going to focus on development, independence, and long-term success. All right. So here are the 7 categories, our focus areas. It's social and emotional development, parent support, employment readiness and career development, individualized support and transition plans, independent living preparation, advocacy and communication skills development, legal and financial preparedness. Those are the 7 focus areas for S.P.E.C.I.A.L, the S.P.E.C.I.A.L framework that I've come up with. So let's walk through each category. What I'm going to do is share 2 strategic things that you could try, and then some actual tips that I could share with you that worked for my children. All right, let's talk about social and emotional development. There are 2 areas that I want you to focus on. First is fostering emotional intelligence with your child and building social skills. Okay, so let's talk about emotional intelligence. For our children, you have to demonstrate and teach and coach throughout your whole raising and parenting of your child. So for example, to help my children recognize and express their emotions, which you know is something they struggle with, you have to do these three things. You have to share personal stories. So I need you to think of a story. If they come to you with an issue that they're faced with, find a way to find a personal story of you having that same challenge and walk them through what worked and what didn't work when you did it, to give them additional information to consider. Okay? Role playing. One of the things that I do when my kids are fighting and one of the children have an issue with the other child, they just go at it. There is emotional meltdowns everywhere. So what I told them was, let's do a little role play. So if you have a problem with your sister, let's you and I role play out the best approach to take with them. So I say, let's practice what you're going to say. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but through the years, they've learned to take time to role play out what they should say before they approach that person. Okay. The next is processing. If you're upset and you really feel like someone did something wrong or you didn't quite understand, you were overstimulated, take some time to process before you express yourself. Those are the three things that I tell my kids, like, think about what it is that you're feeling. I want to acknowledge your feelings, but take some time to process. Did I overreact? Is this wrong? Or do I really need to address this? Taking that time to process your emotions will help you realize if this is something worth discussing or something you should just let go. Okay. But the overall goal is that you want to create a predictable environment that helps them regulate their emotions and reduce their anxiety. And you can do that by fostering that emotional intelligence. Next, I want to talk about building social skills, which is so hard. Okay. One of the things that I talk about is, how do you encourage your children to have peer-to-peer interactions? Because if you're like my kids, they have had so many disappointments in the friendship world that they don't even want to try. They'd rather stay isolated and be in their room. I challenge you to be sure to come up with some structured social opportunities for them that's tied to, of course, to their comfort level, but most importantly, tied to their interests. That is the key. And I'm going to show in the next slide some examples that I use with my daughter, Mari. She loves anime. So I took her interest in anime to create these additional social opportunities for her, and it ended up being successful. But the overall goal is to encourage these opportunities so that they can thrive in these neurodiverse friendly environments socially and be able to feel comfortable doing it. Okay. So let me share with you a couple of tips. So in general, when your child shows interest in something, I want you to nurture that and find social opportunities for them to engage in. Encourage them to participate independently or with friends, or provide support from a distance as they explore on their own. So here you'll see a group of 3 pictures here for my daughter, Mari. So when she graduated from high school, she said that she wanted to go to the Anime Expo. It's one of the largest in the world, and it was based in Los Angeles, California. So I took this opportunity for her to realize you're going to be around a lot of people. It's going to be a lot of chaos, lots of moving, lots of noise, lots of stimulation. I need you to start being prepared for that. How she prepared, we went to previous videos. We went on YouTube. She saw the number of people. All it does was make her more excited. Okay. Then when we got there, went to the booths, picking up different anime objects, meeting some of the voiceover characters from some of her favorite anime series. That was exciting for her. And then if you can see the last photo, her smile. Okay. Now you see, she got that big purse. She takes that purse everywhere she goes. But it was critical this time because not only did she have her phone, her money, all her paperwork, she had her travel itinerary in there. That was like everything she needed to be successful, that if she lost me, she'll be able to get back to the hotel, call her dad, call me, call granny to let them know she was okay. She was super paranoid about getting lost and not finding me. But what a great opportunity for her to be social, make friends, also get deeper into her interests, which is anime, It was an amazing experience. And that's how you build that social and emotional. Okay. Let's talk about parental support. Now, this is for us, the parents. Okay. When you are the major caregiver, or you're the one that is 100% responsible for your children as they matriculate into adulthood, it can be overwhelming. I know I have definitely been overwhelmed many a times. Some occasions, it's a scenario that I shared in my book. One time I just ran away. I just like, my kids are better off without me, because emotionally I just felt so overwhelmed. But what I learned was self-care was so important. It is key to being able to do this long journey and being on this journey of autism. Okay. And raising your children and being fully committed and having that level of advocacy. You have to take care of yourself. Now, for some people, taking care of yourself is, getting a massage, getting your hair done, going to the movies maybe. For me, my version of self-care is being in a position where I don't have to make any decisions. I tell my husband, hey, do I have to make any decisions today? Because I really need a moment so that I'm not the one being the decision maker for everybody's problems. Please, can I have a day? That is what I need for self-care. And what the overall goal is, whether you like, getting your nails done, getting away, going to a movie, having dinner with your spouse, the goal is to have an emotionally balanced life so that you can avoid that caregiver burnout, because it does exist. Okay. Now, the other two things is very common, like what we're doing today. We're here at the Autism in Black Conference, building a support network with people with shared experiences as you, can provide you resources, and most importantly, just provide you the level of encouragement that you need to go on this journey. Coming to conferences like this is key. It did not exist when I started my autism journey. So to be able to see the development of this, to provide a safe space for other parents to come and share and learn, be empowered, the Autism Black Conference is a perfect example of how you build that support network. And then last, collaboration with professionals. Now, this one is a little sensitive for me. When my children were younger and I was new in my walk and my journey, I sought out a lot of professionals in this world. These were therapists, educators, medical professionals. And I would say 90% of the time I got disappointed, because all I heard was the negative of what they can't do, what my challenges are going to be, never anything positive. Okay. And so I retreated. I just stopped seeking out professional help. My son did not feel comfortable because he was like, Mom, is that really me? Because it was never a place where he could be around functioning families who are doing great things with their kids. Everything was like problem focused, and he did not like that. So we decided to retreat. But as your child becomes an adult, those professionals become key. You must re-engage with professionals, the educators, the psychiatrists, organizations that provide services for your adult child. It's time to re-engage. So from a parental support perspective, these are the three things that I think are key and was successful for me, right? Now, for example, for me, my parental support comes from travel. I love traveling and going and sharing new experiences and going places, and especially with my kids. Okay. So I'm one of those parents, like I do vacation alone, and my husband and I do go on vacation together, but I really love taking my children places, just me and them. Sometimes me and that one child, we go on trips together. That's my way of getting the support I need, because I get away. It's something different. I'm not in the house, but it also creates twofold an experience for my child. So travel does that for us. All right. So here, the pictures below, you will see my two daughters in East France, in the south of France. My son and I went to Paris when he turned 18. It was one of his graduation gifts. My daughter and I were heading to a culinary camp that she attended in New York. Here's the kids when we were in Cabo San Lucas. And this is my daughter when we went to Havana, Cuba. We have been a lot of places, but it took time to get them comfortable with traveling. And with me loving traveling so much, it's really where I could get my respite. It also helps my kids to see that there's a bigger world out there. Okay. So whatever it is you do to self-care, to provide the support you need, please do it, because this is a This is a very long journey, and you need to find that time for yourself. All right, let's talk about employment readiness and career development. Now, this is tricky because not all kids, all young adults want to work. Some are not even emotionally capable of working, okay, and having a career. But there are skills that they can develop that maybe they can do online that could create opportunities for them to make an income, provide for themselves. So this is one of those tricky topics that it doesn't apply to all kids, okay, all young adults. So let's talk about the 3 areas I want you to focus on under employment readiness and career development. So early skill development. Now this is from those life skills perspective. You have to, so let me just tell you, being real. When I give my kids something to do, I expect it to not be under my expectation. As a matter of fact, they're so traumatized from my reaction when I see what they've done. They come back to me 2 or 3 times just to confirm what it is they need me to do. So I failed in that area. Okay. But and then I make the decision, I'll just do it myself. They're not going to learn a life skill if you're the one doing it. So regardless of how long it takes, how bad they do it, you have to give them an opportunity to do these life skills. For example, my son, I told him to put groceries away. He saw a bunch of aerosol cans, and one of them was pan. He put all the aerosol cans under the sink, including the pan. So when I go and I get the spray bottles, the sprays or whatever under the sink, I see the pan. I'm like, why is it the pan under the sink? Now, I know I shouldn't have done that, but in his mind, all of it looked the same. He didn't know what Pam was. He thought it was an aerosol can. Is something that you use to clean and put it under the sink. Had I not given him that opportunity, he wouldn't have learned that you have to read the can. That's the life skill of putting away the groceries, putting away the items when you go shopping. Same with taking out the trash or washing dishes or cleaning up around the house. You have to prepare them with these life skills so you can get them to a path towards independence. All right. Vocational and training programs. Now, this is something that I had to navigate towards as they became 18. These programs are really critical because it helps them to find opportunities for jobs. What are some of the career paths you can take? And what I would suggest as a goal is that you identify some state agencies that provide this type of support with individuals with disabilities. Skill building workshops, life skill workshops, coaching, job coaching, of course, internships. They have employers who are willing to hire children, adults on the spectrum or with a disability to give them an opportunity to work. Okay. So definitely leverage those groups. And then last, which is my most proudest moment and the thing that I think I did really well as a parent was leveraging their strengths. Like I said, in all of my IEP meetings, teacher conferences, it was always geared towards what they're not doing. Okay. I shifted that mindset. I was like, we're going to talk about the good stuff. That's what we're going to talk about. So for my kids, I always built on their strengths because one of the hardest things when you're different is when can you get a win? You know, my kids did not get student of the month, recognized all the time because of the challenges that they face. So I had to reinforce them that you do have some strengths. Okay. And when they would demonstrate those strengths to me, I pounced on it and I started investing in it. So if your child has a special gift or talent, please leverage that. Okay. Nurture that talent because it will create some type of career path that you wasn't even thinking about. So the goal here is to continue to research careers and speak to individuals who have similar gifts and talents to see if it's a possible opportunity for them to have a job or a career in that field. If it's not a match, move on, find something else. But these 3 things are critical if you're trying to find opportunities for employment readiness and career development. So let's talk about some tips. So here's the strategy I want you to remember. Invest in their passions. Okay? That's where it's going to lead to you finding and uncovering some career pathing opportunities for them. Okay? So let's walk you through my 3 children so you can see how different they are and my approach of what I did. So with Mari, I think I told you earlier that animation is her passion. And what I did over the years from when she was 12 years old is invest in those passions. If you look to the left, you'll see one of her mushroom characters that she created by herself. Okay. And when I tell you this is a movable object, she drew it out first, did the rendering. She did all the still work to make it develop the context, is in 2 and 3D. She did it all on her own. And the picture you see next to her are all the things that I purchased to invest in her passion. The 2 monitors, the drawing board, the keyboards. If you see that computer down there, there's a super high processing computer. Through the years, I upgraded. Now, it wasn't things that I could do all at one time because it's very expensive. But through the years, I would upgrade for her different things that she wanted to build out her skills. And in the fall, like I said, she would be attending Kennesaw State University, where she'll be majoring in software engineering, minoring in animation. And it started with me investing in her passions. Next is my daughter, Milan. She loves hair and makeup and debating. And she's a serial entrepreneur. She would come up with a business idea all the time. And every time she did, whether it was selling slime, selling, tea in lemonade in the front yard, now she's selling wigs. I invested in that for her. So right now you'll see her goal is to become a beauty entrepreneur and attorney. Now we've not decided on what college she's going to just yet, but I did set up her LLC. I Am Customs. She does custom wigs. And as you can see from the 2 pictures, she does a great job. I self-taught, up in that room, complete isolation, perfecting her craft. Okay. That's what she did. And we're super excited about her business. She gets sales all the time. She's always running to the store to get her stuff and then going to the mailbox to mail it. She has an online wig business called I Am Customs, and I'm super excited for her. Next is my son, Cameron. So he is a gamer. He's been gaming since he was 2 years old. And so one of the things I did for him was when you turn 18, you're going to become a professional gamer. I'm going to give you a couple of years to see if you're really as good as you say you are. Well, come to find out, he wasn't. But I invested in him to attend these competitions so that he can practice. He could be, this is social, number 1. Number 2, it's being excited about something new and different and getting him out of that room. And if you're on PlayStation 5, his name is Dark Blade. If you want to compete with him in Street Fighter, he's really good at it online. But of course, when you're in a competition, it's a little different. You have real professionals there. He has been super inspired by being able to do that because I invested in his passion. And with that, he talked about a lot of the security gaps that he would see, which led to his interest in cybersecurity. So in the fall, he would be attending Kennesaw State as well, finishing up his bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. So when I tell you, invest in your children's passions. Now, have I had some failures where I've invested in something, they forgot all about it? That's like with any parent. But when you have children on the spectrum who has these super minds and they are passionate about things and they become singularly focused on something, pour into that. Pour into that. You will see results such as these. Okay. Here's some additional resources that I have leveraged this year that I want to share with you guys. Please leverage those state and federal agencies, okay, when you are navigating from an educational perspective and coming up what their career should be. Okay, a lot of great resources out there. Here's 3 that I've used. So leverage your vocational rehabilitation agency in your state. Here's the Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency. They have been wonderful working with all 3 of them. Even with Milan still being in high school, they're building out a plan for her to support her getting to a place of employment. That is their goal. With individuals with disabilities, how do we get them to a place of employment? They are wonderful to work with and have lots of resources to support your adult child. The other thing is this Ticket to Work program. So Cameron has Social Security. He's been approved for Social Security, but he wants to work. So they have this Ticket to Work program that really gives you a safety net. So if you decide to work and you're starting to make money, they don't take away your Social Security income immediately. They give you about 18 to 24 months to really get your feet wet in the work environment to see if this is something that's sustainable. They don't punish you or penalize you if you're trying to work, because that's what they want you to do, especially if you're getting the disability income through Social Security. They want you to work one day. So this program, Cameron is enrolled in because he does receive Social Security. And then last, if your child gets to go to a college or university, please leverage their career development office and the disabilities office. At Kennesaw State, they have a whole division for student affairs for student with disabilities. And this time I'm leveraging it as opposed to before, right? Now, this is something I'm pretty sure many of you have. If you have a child that's, in school, you're familiar with IEP programs and 504s. So yes, you need to keep that documentation. That is the tip I want to share with you. That is so important. As you transition to your child to adulthood, they want to see that IEP. What was the last IEP? What was the last 504 plan? And they help to build off of that. So keep it and make sure you have it readily available. Next is the transitioning planning. Now, there's different organizations that can help you with this, but as your child leaves the school environment, as you know, they have to have that transition plan through IDEA. So make sure that is done, because you're going to use that as an input to the planning effort that those agencies do to help figure out the employment plan. All right. And then last and most importantly, please be flexible. Listen, you may find yourself going down one path, and that roadblock, you got to come back and try another path. That's what happened with my son. It took him 6 years to get his associate degree because of all of we were going down one path that didn't work. We went down another path that didn't work, all the failures, but he never gave up. I think that was the key, because I was constantly telling him, if this don't work, we'll try something else. We can always pivot, giving him that confidence that if he fails, he's going to be failing forward. Okay. And that's where he is today. Right. But be flexible and know that it's probably going to change. Okay. Now, let me show you 3 examples of tips and strategies that I've used that I continue to leverage. Now, I'm a little different as a planner. I have my own personal tracker that I use to track all of my kids' decision making as an adult. The one that you see here is the tracker that I created in terms of deciding what college or university all 3 of them would go to. I had all kinds of factors, as you can see at the black tabs, that I used to make a decision on which college they should choose. Okay. I suggest you don't have to be as anal as I am, but document the plan. Document the transition that's going to happen between when they're a young person and the adulthood. You have to track those things and write these things down, come up with some plans, because that's going to be your decision-making tool. You must do that. Any other planning activities are great, but decision-making tools is what I'm saying is important and has been the key to my success. Here you can see the IEP transition plan that my daughter just completed. She's going off to college, so hers was pretty simple. And then I wanted to share with you what the Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, their individual counselor created for them. They created an individualized plan for employment. That's different from an IEP because it's all about education. This is all about how do we get our child employed in some way, whether part-time, full-time, it doesn't matter. Okay, how do we get them to a place of employment? And I wanted to share with you the VR process here. First, you have to do an application. You have to determine eligibility, and that's done through a course of interviews. Then they start planning what that individualized plan for employment looks like. They identify services to support the plan, which is key. Okay. It's not only services, it's funds as well. All right. And then last, when you do get employed, they provide support for you in that employment environment. And I want to share with you just quickly why this vocational rehabilitation is so important. Having 3 children in college is very expensive. Okay. I did not pursue this. I did not push this. But when I met with the people at the Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation Agency, and they told me about the programs they had to contribute financially towards tuition, towards room and board, towards books, it changed my whole viewpoint, which is why when I said earlier, Start reaching out to these organizations and these agencies because they have funding available to help your child, whether it's a traditional college or university, it is I don't know, taking a certification class, developing some skills. They pay for it. It's out of pocket. Please take advantage of it. It has literally changed our life and opened up these possibilities of this tracker of all these possible schools. So please do that. All right, let's talk about independent living preparation, which is the one has been my biggest challenge. Okay, this is the one that's scary. This is the one where you're always wondering, will they ever be at a place where they can do things on their own? Okay, this is the one that really made my gray hair show more quickly. So I only have two things I want you to focus on: the daily living skills and teaching them how to cook, teaching them about hygiene, teaching them about time management. It's a journey walking them through this because they think of it differently. They don't understand the why. And you have to constantly explain to them why hygiene is important, why cooking in this manner is important, why safety is important, why being on time and managing your time is important from a financial perspective, budgeting your money. While all those things are important, you have to provide a step-by-step instruction of how they do it all the time. That's your daily job when you're preparing your adult child for a life of independence and going through adulthood. I cannot stress enough, you're going to run into situations where you're going to have to teach and reteach and reteach. And that's what you have to do before you're even thinking about letting them out the door. Okay? That is the biggest challenge. And then also this community engagement. One of the things that I tell my kids, listen, you're going to have to go out and meet the postmaster. Okay, the postman. You have to go out and meet your doctor. You have to go out and meet the guy at the grocery store and ask them questions. So pushing them out in the community, which they are very nervous about doing because of the experiences they've had, has been a challenge, especially around public transportation and going out in the world. It has been a challenge. Okay. But this is the heavy lift. Everything I've shared before are things to try, but to really do the hard work. This is when you're making the cake. This is when you're making the sausage, is preparing them for living on their own and teaching them these essential skills. This is so important. Now, the strategy and the tip that I want to share here is that you must constantly monitor these behaviors. Okay. These categories, these 5 categories here are the ones that I am meticulous about. Before I even think about them leaving the nest, I want to make sure they have experienced all of these things. And I constantly monitor. I'm on every app. I'm on every account. I got access to their email. I'm constantly monitoring these behaviors because I'm trying to teach them best practices. Okay. And here's some examples that I want to share with you about what I've done. On the personal hygiene, as you can imagine, that is so difficult. Okay. But what I've done is, you're going to get your hair cut and you're going to be responsible for making and scheduling your appointment. So scheduling the appointment for my son, he texts his barber. For my daughter, she has an app called Seats. She goes on, Miss Tina is her hairdresser who does her hair. And about every 3 to 4 months, she goes on that app and book an appointment because she's tech savvy now. She wants to be a software engineer. Routine showers. I had to put a schedule together because when they would walk through this house, I'm like, when did you take a shower? Like, that was constantly my question to them. So I said, you know what? We're going to have a schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is your shower day. Okay. It is. And one of the tips that I gave them is put these reminders on your calendar, put these reminders on your phone. You have your phone in your hand all the time. Put these reminders on your phone in terms of personal hygiene. Transportation. As I shared with you, my daughter commuted to S.P.E.C.I.A.L earlier. That was one of the key things that I wanted to do, is teach her about being independent, and she could take herself wherever she wanted to go. So all of my kids have Uber accounts. Now I'm part of the Uber account, but they have Uber accounts. My son has a driver's license. My daughter has a driver's license, but my son doesn't want to drive, but at least he does have the driver's license. My daughter, Mari, does not want to drive. So she takes her Ubers, okay? Or she takes the bus. But all of these things, I had to prepare them by practicing. All right. The one thing that I do have that is a non-negotiable is the Life 360 account. As they navigate, in the world, I will always know what they're doing. And it's not to micromanage or overparent or be a helicopter cop. It's really to give me a sense of peace, because these are my 3 heartbeats outside in the world who I know have challenges with them. And the world may not see that in that way. So how do I make sure they're okay is through having some type of monitoring app. So they already know is a non-negotiable for me. From a medical perspective, my children schedule their own medical appointments through this app called MyChart. They attend on their own. They ask questions to the doctor. We do a role play before we go of questions you should ask. They know about picking up their medicine, and they also talk about, fitness goals and weight loss and making sure that you're putting good things in your body. Those are the things that we do on the medical side. And I felt it was important that they're able to have autonomy and empowered about their health. Okay. Mommy's not making any more appointments anymore. You can do it yourself. Food and groceries. Now, food is one of those things they're very particular about. About 5 years ago, I made a decision that I wasn't going to be cooking. If you want to eat, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to feed yourself. And over the years, they have become great cooks. Some of those dishes I kind of look, like, you eating that? But they know how to cook and know the safety of cooking. My son has an EBT card. He manages his food stamps amount of what he gets every month. He even contributes to our home. He said, Mom, you want me to order you something from my card? Sure. He's always wanting to contribute, and he get to contribute to our household in that way. And they manage their meals during the week. It is not my responsibility. You need to know how to feed yourself, and if you're an adult. And if you're capable, I'm going to teach you how to cook. Okay. And then last, the finances. Okay. All of my kids have checking accounts and savings accounts, and they have credit cards, and they have investment accounts. And I meet with them pretty regularly about, hey, you spend a lot of money. You got to pay that back, because they do get income. So how they managing their budgets, how they're managing their bank accounts is critical. Okay. They need to know how the banking and financial system work is key. If you're going to be making money, you need to know how to manage your money. And we do set financial goals with my kids going to college in the fall, and Mari and Cam moving into an apartment. They are responsible for paying their rent. So right now I'm telling them, put some money to the side so that you can always have a cushion just in case something happens and you need to pay your rent. These are some of the discussions that I'm having with them, and it's going over very, very well. Had they not demonstrated that they could do these capabilities here, they would not be leaving the house. But these are the 5 that I feel are critical if you're going to be teaching those life skills for them to be independent. Okay. All right. Advocacy and communication skills. This is really important. Okay. How do you get your child to advocate for themselves and communicate their boundaries? All right. So self-advocacy training. Now, this is not official training, but giving them opportunities to go to that doctor's office and advocate for whatever they're feeling in terms of their health needs, advocating for themselves. Like, for example, my son Cameron has eczema really bad. And the doctor gave him just some cortisone cream. I said, Cameron, you need something a little more powerful than that. You need to go back to that doctor, email them, text them, and say, you need something a little stronger. He went back, texted them, emailed them, and he came back, Mom, oh my gosh, she sent me a new prescription. Oh, okay. I said, always know, self-advocate for yourself. I'm constantly showing them opportunities that mommy is not going to do the fighting for you. You need to do it. So finding those examples, especially in the home, and because when they go into the workforce, they're going to have to know how to advocate for themselves. Okay. And a lot of those examples, a lot of those opportunities to test it out is in the home. Okay. Effective communication strategies, similar to what I said earlier, being able to remain calm and remove yourself from any situation that you feel is a problem. One of the things that I share with my daughters is that if you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable with the people that you're around, excuse yourself. And they're like, well, how do you do that, Mom? I'm like, just say you have to go to the bathroom. And when you go to the bathroom, take your purse and head out that door and call your Uber. I'm constantly reiterating, as girls, to be mindful of your surroundings and be mindful of the things that people may say or do. Okay. Because not everyone is your friend. It's one of the things I say all the time. Okay. So those communication strategies are key in terms of communicating what you will and will not do to your friends, your family. They even advocate for themselves against me. If they feel like I'm doing something that go against their beliefs, they tell me. And as their parent, respecting them as an adult, I have to listen. So there's a lot of things that they do that I do not agree with. And I know what the outcome is going to be. I have to let them do it because they are an adult. Okay. Now, here's some couple of tips. I think I mentioned this earlier, but things to consider. Okay. Coaching is key when you're trying to teach them about advocacy. You have to constantly coach them through scenarios. Okay. And here's a few that I want to walk you through of things you can do. One of the biggest ones is over trusting others and being aware when you're being manipulated. That's the idea when I tell you everybody's not your friend. I do my very best to coach them through various situations they find themselves in from a friend perspective. When you feel like the friend is kind of asking for too much or requiring too much, how do you put those boundaries in place? And handling workplace criticism and feedback, that's something that they always, as a challenge for me as their parent, because when I'm telling them, correcting them, they think it as, oh, mom, I'm always messing up. And I've had to learn that to reinforce, a change that you want them to see, you have to start with the positive, then start with the opportunity, and then close back the confidence that you have in them to do it. Those are the three things you need to do when you're giving them the criticism from a parent perspective. But from a child's perspective, leveraging those life support groups, I would definitely, recommend that you find that for your adult child, because sometimes mom and dad, you may say the wrong thing. I know I've been in that situation a lot. I've said the wrong thing. So those are a couple of situations I wanted to kind of share with you guys and what the best strategy or tip you should do. The last one, we're at L, legal and financial preparedness. Now, I am not an attorney, but I was pleasantly surprised when I found out that when my child turned 18, I had no rights. I could not advocate, check on anything regarding them anymore when they turn 18. Now, these three items are things that from a parent perspective, I want you to consider. Okay. I want you to educate yourself on all the disability laws out there, federal and state laws. You need to be familiar. Your child needs to be familiar so you can know when they're being taken advantage of from whatever organization. Okay. From a financial planning perspective, making sure they have financial security. So my kids do have a trust. They do have life insurance. So if something happens to me, they will get life insurance, but it goes to a trust to make sure that they're able to be protected at all time. My husband and I talk very a lot because we know one day we're going to have to leave this earth. And who's going to be there to take care of our babies? So we have to put things in place to make sure there is some structural things in place to protect them. We can't protect them from everything, but could we protect them from a point where they will always have a place to live and they will have funds coming in to support them? Okay. So establishing those accounts, establishing some long-term strategies, you need to do that. Work with your financial planner, work with an attorney to set these things up so that you're prepared. Okay. Now, the last thing is something that I had to really pray over is what type of guardianship what role did I want to have to support them as they become an adult? Some can be guardians where you have 100% control as if they were not 18. And then the other one is a power of attorney. I decided to do a power of attorney because I want my kids to be confident that they can live a life of independence. And if their mother is constantly telling them what to do and making these decisions for them, how are they going to grow as an adult? So we decided to do the durable power of attorney route because, if something should happen, they're not married, who is going to speak up for them? I need to have something legally in place. So I want to share with you quickly some resources that I use. So My tip is to set up some legal protections immediately. Because once your child turns 18, you no longer have any legal authority to make decisions on their behalf. You do not. And you'll be surprised when you go to your first meeting with someone and they're 18, they are not going to talk to you. They're going to talk to your child. And the first time that happened to me, I was not. Let's just say I had an attitude real bad. I'm like, why are you asking him? He don't know. I'm the one who put this together. Like it was really, I've learned a lot over these 8 years. But one of the things that I did do was I went to this website called Mama Bear, and I was able to quickly create a durable power of attorney for all of my kids. I'm going to do it for all of my kids. And here's what it gives you. It gives you the ability to make medical decisions, financial decisions, create legal documents, sign legal documents, and planning for emergencies. Okay. If they should get sick, who's going to be there to make sure that you speak on their behalf? We did a medical document to say if they get sick or they become incapacitated, they can't, they're on life support or something like that. What are their wishes? That was really shocking to hear the different wishes of my kids if something should happen. We have all of those documentations, all of those documents, those legal documents signed and notarized. And I am the beneficiary of that. And we have 2 or 3 backups on that document if something should happen to me. Please do this. Set up these protections immediately. All right. So we're at the end. We went through special. We went through it. So I want to leave you with some key takeaways for you to remember. Okay. Number 1, set up those legal protections. Again, when your child turns 18, they're not going to listen to you. Get those protections in place. Protect them so that if anything should happen to you, they're going to be okay. Teach those life lessons. Every day, if you see an opportunity to teach them a life lesson, please do that. It is a constant coaching that you have to do, and it never ends. Every day, I'm teaching them something new. Encourage independence. Please encourage independence. I don't care how big or little the thing is. You want to encourage them to be less dependent on you, because not only is it help you, but it's also building their confidence and self-esteem that, I may have this disability, but I can do X. You want to make sure you do that. So encourage that independence. Ask questions. So one of the things that I do, I'm just nosy. I like to ask questions because it's always a teachable moment. It gives them a safe place to maybe share when they're not ready to share if you ask those questions. It gives them confidence that there's somebody on this planet that cares about them, which is you. Okay. And it also gives you some insights on what they're thinking, how they're feeling. Always continue to be proactive and ask those questions. Okay. Prepare for this change. Change is a coming when your child becomes 18. Okay. As a parent, your role is going to shift. So please allow them the freedom to grow and prepare so they can fly on their own. Now, they may come back home, and that's okay. But giving them this, preparing yourself to give them this freedom, you need to get ready for. Trust me. I'm going to be in a very emotional state come August when they move into their apartments and the dorm rooms. But I'm preparing myself. Allow autonomy. Let them make their own appointments. Like I said, my kids make all their appointments. And so that they can build that ability to be responsible for them. All right. And then enjoy this journey. This has been, when I first got the diagnosis, I was just terrified. But man, has this been an amazing experience. So many joys that I've experienced with raising my children. So enjoy this journey. This is a special time in your kid's life when they're transitioning to adulthood, where they're getting more responsibilities. They're getting more respect in the home because they're an adult. My son loves when I say, well, you're an adult now. You make the decision. He really loves that. So enjoy the journey as you watch your children, the children that you've poured into all these years, go into adulthood successfully. Watch that. Enjoy that journey. And then last, there's this quote I want to leave you with. Okay. I was thinking about what should I say to this audience to close out my session. I want to say this. Raising a child with autism is a unique experience filled with challenges and triumphs. As you navigate this path, focus on preparing them for successful adulthood by nurturing their independence. Nurturing it. Even when they get it wrong, encourage them along the way when they make those mistakes. Nurture that independence. You can do it. You can do it. You know, teaching them those life skills. It never stops. You got to constantly teach those life skills to them. And then, of course, unwavering support for my kids to know that there is at least one person in the world. They have a lot of people that love and care for them, but they know their mother loves them and will be supporting them 100% of the way, wherever direction they go. I would be there supporting them. You need to do the same. And then last, embrace the journey, celebrate all these wonderful milestones, and continue to build on those wins. That's what's going to keep you guys excited and motivated. Keep dreaming and believing. And thank you for listening to me, learning about my family, and just being open to hearing a different approach from someone who only got this way because she loved her children. So thank you so much. And if you guys are interested in reaching out to me, here's my contact information. You have any questions, if you want me to send you some information, please, Caldwell-McMullen@gmail.com is my email address. And it's, of course, you could text me. My phone number is 650-468-6102. I would love to be a support for you and just love to get to meet some of you. All right. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day and enjoy your conference. Bye-bye.